Yeah.
I'd like to call this meeting of the Board of Selectmen to order Thursday, October 26, 2017 at 7 o'clock. We're going to start with a public hearing on the petition of National Grid and Verizon New England to install two jointly owned poles on Sawyer Road at a point approximately 820 feet south of the center line of the intersection of West Berlin Road and continuing approximately 300 feet in a south direction. National Grid to install two new 40-foot poles. New pole 28 will be 150 feet south of existing pole 27. New pole 29 will be 150 feet south of new pole 28. Pole 27 is approximately 820 feet from the intersection of Sawyer Road and West Berlin Road. This work will be done for a new customer at 277 Sawyer Road.
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye. Is that what we do?
We're just opening it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
Is this someone here from Verizon?
National Grid.
National Grid.
Come on down. Can you come forward?
So,
Hi.
how you doing? My name is Mark Tapley. I'm
You
with
can
National
sit
Grid.
down, it's okay. We're a nice board.
Everywhere's different.
No, you relax.
Welcome. Welcome, sir.
How you doing? So, my name is Mark Tapley. I'm with National Grid. And as you said, we'd like to put in two new poles on Sawyer Road. They're about 150 feet away from each other. So extending about 300 feet from pole 27. It is to service a new customer at 277 Sawyer Road.
So on the diagram here, is this yours diagram?
It's one of my coworkers, yes.
Okay. So there's a pole next to 265 and there's a pole next to 262, and the new poles will be.
The new pole will be. The 27, 150 feet, and pole 28 is going to be on the western side of the road, and pole 29 about another 150 feet, also on the other side of the cul-de-sac.
And so that's just for the one new house lot?
It's for the one new house. I drove by there before I came here. It looks like there's two lots in the area, but I believe right now it's only a work request to feed one customer, but it will eventually feed the second.
Thank you. So we have some, I don't have any comments right now.
So there's some tree pruning that needs to be done so they can string the new wires, but there's also a group of trees, a cluster of 3 at the bottom of pole existing pole 27. I've already been in touch with arborists from National Grid. We're going to ask them to leave the backmost tree of the 3. They always seem to be shooting for the moon and having a clear open area for everything, and trying to retain the fact that this is a scenic road. So the cluster of 3, we're going to ask them to leave the back leader of the tree. One of the front leaders has got an awful lot of old woodpecker damage, so we know that it's got a fair amount of decay in the interior. So the third leader that is leading out towards the street is in relatively good health. It's approximately 10 inches in diameter. So we would be holding a public hearing for the removal of that tree. The other trees that are in question, one of them has a broken top, and the rest of it is just going to be pruning. So I would suggest to the board that you can go ahead and approve the pole placements, but we still have to go through the formality of holding a public hearing with the planning board on in the scenic road, because of the scenic road and public shade tree laws.
So the tree you're talking about is a multi-stem?
Yes.
Tree?
Yeah.
Any other comments?
I'm fine with it.
No Well, yeah, I just had a question for Don. So these are, is this jointly owned poles? Maybe I should ask you, is that,
Yes, they will be jointly owned.
are all of our poles in town jointly owned or
Um,
some are?
Most are.
There's sections of town that aren't even National Grid. Coming in from Route 85 and going up approximately halfway to Century Mill is Hudson Light and Power. So those are owned by that municipality. The majority of the other poles throughout town are jointly owned poles with Verizon and National Grid.
But generally maintained by Verizon. Is that right?
The poles are generally maintained by Grid, correct?
So Don, do we have an inventory of double poles in town?
We did have one, but it's time to revise it. And I can make a request for that.
And so approximately how many are there?
The last report I saw, I'd like to say there were probably between 160 and 180.
Double poles. So I know that's an issue with, the Mass Municipal Association is working with the legislature and getting National Grid and Verizon to give towns a schedule about when they're going to remove old poles.
So there's been a new agreement between National Grid and Verizon.
Mhm.
It happens sometime very early this year.
Okay.
I'm not sure the exact date, but National Grid no longer removes any poles. Verizon is in charge of every removal of the National Grid Verizon jointly owned pole, and National Grid is responsible for the installation of all new poles. So once the new pole goes in, we remove our stuff from it. The pole belongs to Verizon at that point. They're responsible for removal.
I spoke with my Verizon contact today, so I mean, I could follow up tomorrow and ask for an updated report.
Okay.
They did come into town last fall and did remove a very large amount of them.
Quite a few on the run-on water quad. I know that.
Exactly, that, and a couple of the offshoots as well.
Mhm.
But-
So you think the number's gone down?
Oh, I wasn't privy to the original numbers, but
Yep.
I feel that driving around town, I think we're in the low hundreds now instead of in the multiple hundreds like we were before.
I would guess, that just a guess, that maybe it's come down by half since the last report. I could be wrong, but
So, I mean, they're making progress, it's not
That's good.
fast, but they're making progress. Anything else? Okay, then I'll make a motion to approve the petition National Grid and Verizon New England to install 2 jointly owned poles on Sawyer Road at a point approximately 1,820 feet south of the center line of the intersection of West Berlin Road and continuing approximately 300 feet in the south direction.
Second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Okay,
Thank you.
Motion to close the hearing.
yes.
so moved.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. We have a request for permission to mitigate a porch wall drainage issue at Persons Park.
Hi, Mark, how are you?
Good evening, Martha.
Friends of Persons Park.
So, we have some photos. We need permission to do anything at the cottage and garage at Persons Park. So, this is a photo of the west side. I think it was the 490 side. It's like northwest, northeast, southwest, so we just go, the pond is north, the side is west. This was from a year ago, actually. So it's not the worst condition. But we noticed a real severe change in the, this was a year ago. We had a lot of rain in like late June and in July. And it was really eroding that edge. And there was vandalism on the north window on that side. The glass was broken, and now DPW has put a piece of plywood over this window. I have the screen because I noticed when it had been vandalized, the screen was there, and I figured I'd put the screen in the garage so they wouldn't wreck that as well. So that is boarded up. And the process to mitigate would be dig some of the buildup soil along the foundation wall, install a rubber strip behind the lowest shingle course of the wall that would be backfilled to appropriate elevation for passive drainage away from the porch. They do not need access to the inside of the building, and of course, the expense would be paid by Friends of Persons Park.
That's a good picture to look at.
Yeah, and this, I just brought this for relation. There's one other thing. For some reason, the padlocks are all wrecked over there. Like the one on the well, down near the beach where the well is and that cement thing. I'm going to notify Leslie that they need to get a new lock on that now that it's stable. But there's a little patch right here where there's a door that comes up, it goes into a chamber, and that should have, I circled where it is, it should have a new hasp-en padlock put on it. And even though you can't open the side, I mean, every padlock has been demolished there. In some places now with the boarding, it doesn't matter because you can't get in anyway.
Right.
So you're proposing to regrade around this porch here?
Well,
the
yeah,
three
that's the
sides.
north port. It's the side toward your right hand. This is not the side that has the mitigation. This is the second thing, which was to
So
put a
you're
new
saying-
padlock.
you're
No,
saying-
that's the east side. It's the other one.
Okay. So it's the side you walk along if you're going
Yes, where they
down
used to
pond.
drive down the hill.
Okay.
And it always was bad, and that's one of the first things that would have to be done is spend 12.5 grand to get that cellar wall that's imploding, fixed too, but that's way in the future, so we need to just sort of keep this from going underneath. And of course, this also allows access for animals and things,
Sure, okay.
so it's not,
That's
So
fine.
what is under there? Is it just a crawl space or it's?
there's a cellar sort of under the porch, and then it's just rubble.
Yep.
The main house has really no cellar under it whatsoever. And the contractor has sent his liability form to the town today. It's the same one that was done for the, so it would look very much like this one. So I guess when that comes in, Linda
Did he
will-
mail it?
Pardon me?
Did he mail it?
They are to email it to the town.
Okay.
Email. And it's not something, it isn't scheduled yet, the work isn't
Okay.
scheduled yet.
No, it's fine. I'm fine with it.
I have two. So do we have a motion to request for permission to mitigate the?
I'll make
porch
a
wall?
motion to grant permission to allow Friends of Persons Park to mitigate the porch wall drainage issue.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And that will be Paul and Patrick Dow doing that work again.
Great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Martha. You have a nice evening.
You as well.
We have a request to place a stone wall on town easement. Please come forward. You're Dominic Ware.
Good evening,
Yes,
Sam
good
Westside.
to meet you.
Pleasure.
Jonathan Keep, welcome to town.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're the homeowner?
Yes.
New home.
New homeowner.
Do you have horses?
No, chickens.
Chickens. Great, yeah.
Starting out small.
The previous owners had horses, that's why I
Yeah.
asked.
We're good
So-
friends with them, actually.
Oh, good.
Well, making friends with them.
Great. So there's the
Yeah.
diagram you filled out. If you could talk about your situation, why you want to put the wall in the easement,
Well,
how high the wall will be, what it'll be made of.
I was gonna do concrete blocks in the middle that were gonna go up to 6 feet high. And the brick columns are gonna be spaced out every 7 or 8 feet or so. But the brick columns will just be a foot higher for appearance wise. And that will reinforce and hold the concrete block together. But first I have to do a whole concrete footing on the bottom to make, so that it doesn't tip or fall. The footing is gonna be what holds it, but it's mainly, this is all for, to keep, the traffic is, I can't have my kid play outside out there. I can't even have them in the front yard without worrying.
So how far is this wall
Um,
going to extend?
So, I was gonna do it the length of all in front of the house for sure, right? And then there's the driveway here,
Right.
and then over next to so there'll be a gate that blocks so the gate will be connected to the columns, and then along that, so that it'll probably, what happens is, where it goes further, where the fence is for the horses, I'm gonna debate whether or not, you know, I'm probably gonna build it all the way, the length of the fence, and behind the fence, where the fence already is, I'm gonna go behind it and build it throughout the time, but, my main thing is just to, you know, if I can't even do that, I just need to have it in front of the house and right before where the fence starts, I mean, so.
Yeah, so, I mean, I have a couple concerns.
Yeah.
One of them is that it sounds like you're gonna build something very substantial that would be hard to move in the event that we needed, you know, the town needed to do something within the right of way. You know, so whereas like a wooden fence or like a field stone wall without mortar, that would be something that would be easy to move in the event that something needed to take place. But like a concrete block wall with a footing is, you know, couldn't really be moved. It would have to be kind of demolished in that case. So you're building, you know, a considerable structure in the right of way. So within town, there's a tradition, you know, of, there are field stone walls in the right of way. They've been there for, you know, a long time. But I can't think of any examples of walls this permanent, as permanent as you're proposing in the right of way. So I guess what I'd ask is to kind of think about the type of structure you're proposing and maybe, you know, look at maybe materials that are easier to move, you know, when the time comes. You know, if the time comes that you need to do something within that space.
Is the 12 feet from the edge of the pavement?
Yes,
Okay.
12 feet back from the edge of the pavement, all the way back on to my own property, much further back than, I don't see where you'd have to get on there, but it's way far back. You know, I mean, what,
How far is the wooden fence that currently where the horses?
it's exactly on the perimeter of their boundary, of our boundary. It's right on the line.
So that's 25 feet back? Or is
Well,
the-
if you're talking about from the center of the street, then, but it's 14 feet from the road, from the edge
Okay.
is the fence.
So is the easement still 25 at that point?
I believe it is 25 at that point.
Okay.
So that would take it right to the edge of his, well, it would take it right to the fence. I don't believe the fence is on the easement. I think that's the border.
Okay.
So you can't build behind your property line because of the septic system?
Yeah, I can't be close to the leach field, and we're already really far back. I'm not even really, not, you know. If you were to measure it from the center of the street, I'm sure you'd be you'd be right within the 25-foot limit from the middle of the road, which is what I believe is the rule. You're not talking about the edge, right? It's supposed to be from the center of the street. Right.
So the easement is 25 feet from the center?
My understanding is the easement is 25 feet from the center of the road.
Road. And then so,
Yeah, and I could do that easily.
so where does this fence lie? Is it, if it's 12 feet from the edge of the pavement, is he okay, or is he off by a foot? Because if it's 12 feet in, and we're talking about the center of the road, then he's got some road there.
Yeah. Mark wants to.
Mark?
Mark Case, Old Bay Road. I have two questions. Just, I think people sitting in the audience, what's the address of this property that you're talking about?
225 Main Street?
So it's the red
Yeah.
It's a red cape.
Right.
Where there used to be horses in the
Sure.
paddock there.
The other thing, the question about the easement comes up, there's no magic number of footage from the center line of any road in town. And the simple reason is, say, for example, the overall easement, I'm using this numbers, is a 30-foot wide easement. That road bed, say it's 10 feet wide, it could be, doesn't necessarily run truly down the middle of the easement. It could hug one side or the other. Some places here in town on 117, we have 4 feet on one side of the road, 25 or 30 feet on the other side of the road. So I am familiar with the property now. There is a granite marker out in front of this property, which is state bound. I believe he's correct, the fence does run pretty much on private property, but it does get pretty close as you get closer to Stowe. The fence does run a little bit closer to the easement, I believe.
Any other comments?
This is for the safety of my son. I'm not trying to build a fieldstone wall.
Mhm.
Those aren't solid. It's gonna fall over time. It's not a solid structure. I need something that's solid, you know, and I'm asking this, please take this into consideration for my son. You know, I'm not doing this is just,
Oh, no, I understand.
you know, I'm not just gonna have one son, I'm having more babies. You know, and I wanna keep them protected.
Sure, sure. To Jonathan's earlier question and comment, would you consider some other type of material that might be slightly more pliable?
I'm just doing this so it doesn't fall over. I mean,
Oh, yeah,
there is, I mean, I'm build a fieldstone wall. I gotta find field stones. It's just not as easy as.
Well, not even feel so, you know.
We've already considered a fence, and it's just not, you're wasting your money because the fence ends up breaking down in 5 years. They just don't last.
Yeah.
And it's just, that's why we just wanna do it once
Yeah.
and not have to mess with the thing, and you know how fences get. They're just,
Yeah.
they're not solid. They're not.
Yeah, I know Joe just started, but you taking a look at this?
No, Joe has not seen this yet.
I mean, the building inspector approved it. He said if I did the footing, he said it's all, that's why he said he would have approved this without even but I guess because comes into the easement, he didn't even know about that. But, you know, I'm willing to stay far back.
All right, so it's not like he's 12 feet into a 25-foot easement. He's kind of on the edge of what he's got, and as he does the fence a little bit closer to Stowe, in that direction, he may be sort of creeping over a little bit, but we're not talking 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, 12 feet. We're talking a little bit. How much that little bit is to be determined, but probably.
I could always go back a little
Well,
more
the
if
thing
I
you-
get all
you-
that property.
Well, you said that you were gonna put this fence behind
Yes, behind the
existing fence, so.
which is already,
So that's, it's gonna go behind that.
and there's no leach field or anything there, so.
And that fence is already there.
Mm.
Obviously, this is a little more durable.
So it's just, yeah, go ahead.
It's just the leach field one I gotta be careful of. I can't get, but I know where that is. I marked it and we've surveyed it already and we know where everything is.
I don't necessarily have a problem unless you wanna have Joe weigh in easement-wise.
It's whatever you want to do. I mean, I know Joe hasn't seen it, you know, we have, I think the records, I think, are pretty good in that area, because I think, you know, what's depicted here seems to be pretty
Yeah.
accurate. I know Harold took a look at it, but I know Joe hasn't seen it yet.
So,
Did
so
Harold
Yeah.
offer an opinion?
so we have a
All he
survey.
said was, he needs approval.
Everything is from the existing survey from what Martha did, the previous owner.
So Don, you're saying there's this, a road, a survey of the right-of-way,
We have,
an engineered survey?
we have pretty good maps of the easements for most roads. We lost some in the fire, you know, 20 years ago. And there is no, obviously, as you know, there's no standard, you know, it's, as Mark said, you know, it could be 3 feet in one place and 20 feet in another.
Yeah.
So we do the best we can with going back to check the records, but we don't have everything. But I think we've got pretty good records for this
Pretty
one.
sure that we do have a records for that lower part of 117. And like I attorney did say there is a bound out in front of that property.
So, yeah, it would be good to see if the records are accurate and up to date, if it could be flagged by the Department of Public Works, stakes, or that would be great, just to, and then we'll continue the discussion. Martha, did you want to say something?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I'm familiar with 225 Main, and that's a really scenic area as you come up past the Spring Farm and then the 3 homes that are there, a brand new one, and then where the Bishops lives and now the Morris live. I wasn't clear if he wanted this cement block and brick for safety from the traffic or just to confine children.
Yeah, it's the traffic. That's why I was doing this. It's, the cars come around that corner at 60 almost. It's kind of ridiculous.
And the speed limit is 45.
People are flying around there.
I was wondering if maybe they could have a chain, well, I didn't realize it was for safety. It's going to be really unsightly if it's made out of cement block. Maybe a chain link fence, you know, within that paddock. It's now nicely grassed over. It's really quite attractive, but I'm thinking this could be an eyesore. Not that we don't have others in town, but it's just a comment.
Will the cinder block be visible, or is it going to be just, will it be from the vantage point of 117 looking at your property? Is it just going to look like a brick fence, or will you see cinder block?
You'll see, you'll see cinder block
CSI.
at 6 feet.
Yeah, I mean, there definitely is an aesthetic
I don't even
issue.
need to go that far down with it. I wouldn't even have to go all the way around the corner. The main thing was in front of the leach field, and then at the beginning of where, so it would be connected to the gate, and then no children could get out into the traffic of the road. Chain link fence, they're gonna crawl over it and get out, anything can get out and escape the yard.
Right. Yeah, so, you know, it is a scenic area. I can't think of any 6-foot masonry walls along a road like that. It's, you know, it's kind of a really strong statement. So we're getting into aesthetics, and that's hard, but, you know, a cinder block wall is like not something you'd expect to see. So if you could, you know, I think we'll continue this discussion, and if you can kind of look at the materials and come back with some pictures of what you're considering, that would be good, and we'll flag it, and we can look, the community, everybody can go look at where the property line is. That would be great.
Okay.
Just one thing, Mr. Chairman, Martha Remington, this does abut the Robert Horton Conservation Trail as well, even though it's in the back. I mean, this is really a really neat area. Even though it's a small cape and had the horse paddock, and the beautiful trees the town planted after the road was fixed too are really coming into their own, so it would be nice if something a little more aesthetically pleasing could be worked out.
So our next scheduled meeting is November 16th. So
Okay.
it'll be continued to
Is that
then.
enough time?
Yeah, I
Is
don't know.
that enough time for Joe?
Oh, it should be plenty of time for Joe.
So, yeah, we'll keep talking about it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
very
you for
much.
coming
Thank you.
in. We have a request to hold the Stowe Gobbler 2017 5K. Mr. Lemieux, are you with you? Would you
I'm
come forward?
representing Mr. Lemieux. I'm Mr. Streeter. One of my children is organizing the race with.
I'm Eli Lemieux, my son.
Hello.
Come on down.
Come forward.
There are 2 others with us, or 3.
Mr. Streeter.
How are you?
Nice to meet you, Mr. Streeter.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
So I just want to thank you for your time tonight and supporting the race for the past years. And last year's Gobbler raised over $16,000. The Habitat for Humanity and Stowe Community Chest were the main benefactors for the money. And the Habitat for Humanity is a global organization that provides low-cost homes for families in need. through the actions of volunteers. And the Stowe Community Chest provides funding to various organizations that provide social, health, and human services for Stowe and neighboring communities like Bolton. The race will be held on November 23rd, Thanksgiving morning. 2017 is the 11th annual or anniversary of the Gobbler. We are before you tonight asking for a permit for this year's race.
I can share with you, like last year, the race is fully insured. It's going to start at the Stowe Community Park like it did last year at Bose. It starts through the streets in Stowe. It crosses a small part of 117 in Bolton, so it's an important part why we're before you again this year. Crosses back into the streets of Stowe, and then it will circle back to Stowe for the finish of the race at Bose. We've connected with the public safety in both towns. We probably still have some stuff we have to finish up with police departments, but we did that last year. We're going to continue those efforts to make sure that we've got a safe and great event for the communities. Again, it's a race this is its 11th year. It's been a good event for both communities, and we're looking to continue to have the race be what it is in the community, and envision that will continue for several years going forward.
Is this primarily the same course it was last year?
Exact same course.
Okay.
So,
Just out of curiosity, how much did you raise last year?
16,000.
Great. So what is the fee to participate?
It's $30.
I think it's $30 right now. Pretty much try to get everything done online. We sold out the race last year. So when we went to both the towns, we said that we had our race is sanctioned for 1,000 runners, and we were able to sell it out. So we're pretty happy about that. So between getting some sponsors to help us out with stuff, yeah, we're looking to do that again this year. So.
That's super.
But we're not looking to change the number of runners, so it should,
Yeah.
from a safety perspective to both the towns, yeah, it's the same course, same number of runners.
So Police Chief Nelson is here. Everything's in order?
It is. We have talked to the organizers, so we are aware of the event. We do have to shut down that section of road just for a short amount of time. I'll say less than an hour. It's usually less than that. But because there's no other way to get the traffic around, we have to stop it at least at East End and send them up and around Concord. But it worked well last year, and if it's the same, we should have no problems.
Great.
Great, thank you. Yeah, we're looking to do the same thing, so
Super.
thank you.
Good.
I'm good with it.
We have a motion?
Sure, I'll make a motion to approve the Stowe Gobbler 2017 5K race.
Second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming in.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. And we'll get the certificate of insurance over to you guys. Okay?
We have a request to place a real estate sign at 96 Hudson Road. Is Lee Friedenheim here?
We're expecting,
Yeah, we are expecting
you know,
someone.
someone from to represent them.
See the pictures from where the sign was before they moved it to the right place. So,
I know the dimensions are 8.5 by 4, which is 34 square feet, which is within our limits of 36 square feet for regular signs. Our limits for, in the bylaw for temporary signs are 6 square feet.
So we just go ahead without the petitioner, or we need to?
You have options. You could go ahead without the petitioner, or you could hold and let the town administrator do his report and see if
It's
he
a
shows
great
up.
idea.
All right.
Okay.
So, town administrator report. I'm going to start with two things that are not on the agenda, but shouldn't be a problem. One is I just would like to remind the board and everyone that a week from Friday, I'm sorry, 2 weeks from this Friday is the Veterans Day brunch, the annual Veterans Day brunch being held at the church in the hall, and we've had good attendance in the past. This is something we've been doing for a few years now, and if the selectmen are able to make it, I know that the vets always appreciate it when town officials make the time to come. I will be the master of ceremonies, as adverse as I am to public speaking, I've been taught to be doing it, so I'm looking forward to that. And it's great to be able to honor the veterans. Certainly we can't do enough for them. And one other thing before I get to what's on the agenda, I sent, probably a month and a half ago, I sent an email to the board and to advisory, advising that I was encouraged and hopeful that we would receive the 911 grant for the repeaters that we appropriated money for at town meeting. I've learned that the grant was approved.
Yay.
It's been signed off, so it was $271,000 that we had earmarked in an article at annual town meeting that we'll be able to get the expense paid for through a grant and not have to spend that money. So I'm
Thank you, Tom.
really excited about that.
That's great.
Thank you. All right, moving on to the Berlin Road culvert. As we all know, the culvert was completed successfully. It was a couple of weeks later than we'd anticipated due to unforeseen site conditions, not through any fault of the contractor at all. In fact, the contractor, Beals and Sons, really did an excellent job. I believe they did as former DPW Director Brown and Chief Nelson. But I do need to inform the board that we had a cost overrun, and I've worked with Harold to deal with the overage. So, I'm not going to be suggesting an advisory transfer or anything like that, but just to recap, we had an article from town meeting for $268,000 for the project. The low bid, and it was a responsible bid, was $179,000, which left a balance of $89,000 due to various issues, and I will summarize them. The final cost of the project came to $322,000, or an overage from the contract of $143,000, or a little more to the point, an overage of about $58,000 in total than what we had appropriated. So, and that was due to two main things. One was peat that was discovered in the ground that was unknown, which had to be removed, and also with the exceptionally and unusually wet conditions in the summertime, the temporary dam that was designed didn't work, and we had to go back and we had to drive in sheeting some 18 feet down, and even with that, a lot of pumps had to be used to keep the water out. So what was done to deal with this is we had $47,000 planned for the engineering for the culvert on Long Hill. So we've reallocated those funds and placed $47,000 to the Berlin Road culvert. To make up for that with the Long Hill culvert, we're going to use Chapter 90 money for that. The reason we couldn't just use Chapter 90 money on the Berlin Road culvert is we didn't require pre-qualified bidders for that because we wanted smaller outfits to be able to apply and bid, and hopefully maybe a smaller outfit would give us a more competitive price. So that's $47,000. Also, we from the 422 account, we are going, if we need to, we will defer some catch basin cleaning to July 1st and potentially some street sweeping, but we won't know that until we get to later in the budget. So between the $47,000 that all we did was reappropriate and monitor closely the 422, we were able to come up with that. Most of the overage was due to the site conditions and the contractor, but also we needed to pay $4,200 for a second bus that was required by the school district because of the closure of the road once school was open. So just need to make you aware of that, but we have been able to deal with the issue, so I'm very comfortable that financially we're in a good place, but I just wanted to make sure that you were aware of that. And I can't say enough about the contractor. Contractor did very good work. So unless you have any questions, I'll move on. Next on the speed zone signs. The speed zone signs were installed just about a week ago. Chief Nelson tells me that the impact is favorable and noticeable already. We are seeing slower speeds on 117. We have already noted that the westbound sign near Manor Road basically stopped functioning, I think, late in the day yesterday because we've had X number of cloudy days in a row and it's solar powered. This is similar to what happens in Lancaster with those signs, so it's not unique to us. And the battery, I think you said, was 80% charged when it was installed, so maybe it was fully charged before the cloudy day, maybe not, who knows, but we have to assume that it was. So occasionally we will see that. Also, I had a question as well as others about, are the signs calibrated properly? Because if you look at the odometer in your car and you see the readout on the sign, it doesn't match exactly. And again, the chief explained they are calibrated correctly. It could be a minor fluctuation in there as a mile an hour or two, but he also tested it with his own rated vehicle speedometer and it matched, so that was a good thing. But we will continue to monitor the signs, but based on the input from the chief and actually input from residents that I've received, things seem to be working well and people seem to be fairly happy with them. So again, I'm excited about that. Finally, the update on the school safety zone. We still need to get some directional drilling done, but we're moving forward. Our new DPW director, Joe Lynch, is on top of this as a high priority. And I would say worst case scenario, we will have that up and running prior to Thanksgiving. I'm hopeful it's going to be earlier than that. But certainly before Thanksgiving, we'll have it up and running. We've got the signage in. We really just need to get the drilling done and make the connections.
And the line painting, the wider line painting?
Yeah, the line painting will be done after that.
Okay.
I don't know if we've already acquired the material for the line painting, so I'll have to follow up with Joe on that. And that's all I have under my report, unless the board has any questions.
Thank you, Don.
Good.
So is Lee Freudenheim here?
Yeah.
So we'll move on to the special town meeting discussion.
Okay.
So we have a discussion and vote on calling a special town meeting. Review the special town meeting warrant.
Do you have copies?
I do.
Thanks. Thank you.
If anyone else wants a copy, there's some extras here.
So as you can see, we have two articles for the special town meeting. The first one is a list of 4 unpaid bills, which is not unusual at all to have for a special town meeting. No matter how much we try with our vendors to get them to get their invoices to us before July 15th so we can pay them, we always get a few stragglers, and this is what we have this year. So small dollar amounts. It's okay to do it in one article. And just, one note, when we have unpaid bills at an annual town meeting, it's a 4/5 majority, and at a special town meeting, it's a 9/10 majority. So we really hope for a unanimous vote here, so the town moderator doesn't have to determine whether or not on a voice vote he's got 9/10 majority or not. And then we have the citizens petition for Camp Virginia.
Excuse me, Don, can you, so there's $80 for dog waste depot, what is that?
Well.
Aside from what may be the obvious, I'm not sure that I can add anything to that.
Is somebody cleaning up, it's probably the bags?
It's the
I
trail,
believe
for
it
the
is.
trails,
For
with
the
the
bags, for the
conservation,
trail.
with the
Okay.
Conservation
Yeah.
Commission.
Yeah, I know we have them at Bower Springs, I don't know.
We
where
have them
else we
behind the
them.
town, well, there's signs behind the
Great,
town
thank
hall.
you, sorry to interrupt.
That's okay.
So we have the citizens petition. It has been reviewed by both town council and bond council. They've not found any issues that would need to be addressed on town meeting floor. For everyone's reference, when a citizen's petition is submitted, the town would not have any ability or right to modify it. Even if we did find something wrong, we would highlight it on town meeting floor, but that's not the case here. So this article, as you can see, proposes to appropriate $1,050,000 or any other amount pursuant to the appropriate Mass General laws to purchase Camp Virginia at 96 Hudson Road, consisting of approximately 50 acres on a 56-acre site. And that, Karen, that the Board of Selectmen be authorized to convey a perpetual conservation restriction in accordance with Mass General Law to Sudbury Valley Trustees, Inc., and the Board of Selectmen be authorized to enter into all agreements and execute any and all instruments. So this is, as I said, we reviewed this with bond council as well as town council. Also, this assumes a $400,000 grant award of the Parkland Acquisitions and Renovations for Community Grant, also known as PARC. So it's contingent upon a $400,000 grant award or a similar amount of fundraising, and that would all need to take place by December. So, and the last I was told, the park grant announcement is expected to be made by mid-December. As you see, there is an amount of $17,500 highlighted in there for closing costs, along with the $1,050,000 for acquisition costs. In reviewing this with the town treasurer, she noted that there is no funds appropriated for borrowing costs, which is a bit of a problem. So in working with bond counsel, the most conservative estimate that we have for borrowing costs is $10,200. And in referencing the specifics, she notes, assuming everything passes and we move forward regarding the borrowing for Camp Virginia based upon a purchase price of $1,050,000, the approximate cost of borrowing would be $10,200. That would be the worst case scenario. We would issue a short-term ban to mature along with our other June 8th, 2018 ban maturities. A principal payment would not be required, but there would be an estimated interest payment due of around $6,000. The preliminary legal opinion would cost approximately $2,500, and the cost of issuance $1,700. If we wanted to include the cost of borrowing in the article, one option would be on town meeting floor. The $17,500 figure could be amended on the floor to include those expenses. That would get us out to June, and then we would propose to roll this into the regular ban that we do annually. So the 10-2 or thereabouts would get us out to June. So we're going to, that will have to be worked out on town meeting floor. One option to deal with that would be to make an appropriation from free cash. I'm sure there are other options as well, but that would be the most obvious one. This would also assume a 10-year borrowing. That's what we had assumed all along, and bond counsel confirmed that 10 years would be appropriate for the property. And again, just to let people know, at town meeting, the vote is 2/3 majority because there's a borrowing, and when the ballot question comes up, it would be a simple majority on the ballot. Also, procedurally, again, just so you know, I think it's important to get this information out now. Because of the timing of this, unless both questions were defeated, both at the town meeting and on the ballot, we would need to do an estimated third quarter tax bill, which won't affect our cash flow to the point that we would have to do a short-term borrowing to meet our obligations. But what it does mean is that when people's actual fourth quarter tax bill comes out, it's going to be larger than they expect, and they will be surprised. So it's important to get that word out. Just, for people to keep their eyes open and know that their third quarter tax bill will still be an estimate, and then the difference will be made up in the fourth quarter actual. Nothing that we can't handle, but again, it's just something that we need to get out there as soon as possible for people to understand. I think those are the highlights that I wanted to bring to your attention. Oh, also, I almost forgot, there's one reference in the summary, and I've had questions on this, so I just wanted to make sure that this was clear. In the, actually, there's a reference in here, I'm not seeing it at the moment, but there is a reference to approximately 15 acres of parkland in town, and...
Oh, it's down here, I think.
Second to the left.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, yeah, so Camp Virginia would add significantly to the amount of parkland available in Bolton, now approximately 15 acres, and provide various opportunities. I've had questions from people that have been saying, hey, we have more than 15 acres of land. So just to explain to people, the 15 acres of parkland, I don't know what's defined in that parkland, but I think where some people are getting confused is confusing it with conservation land. So just to make sure that I have the figures available for people, of our conservation land, or what you would call exempt or conserved, this is a spreadsheet that shows all the addresses in town. And in summary, the total town-owned acres is 266.85 acres. The total acreage in town that is exempted or conserved is 2,640.48 acres. The total acreage of the town is 12,800 acres. So on a percentage basis, the town actually has 20.89% of its land already conserved. So I'm hopeful that that helps with people's confusion, that we really do have more conserved land than 15 acres. And I have received more than one question about that, so I just wanted to be able to clarify. And now I think that's everything I wanted to highlight under the article.
Don, did you say that, you went through a lot of things, that the 10-2 for the borrowing costs either could be potentially rolled into the 17-5? Or it would be something in May or June we would need to take it out of free cash?
Well, no, what I'm saying is that we have one opportunity is to amend the 17.5 upwards to that amount, and to make up that additional funds, it could be, the motion could be to take it out of free cash at town meeting.
Or take it out of free cash?
Well, no, not or take it out of free cash. Well, yes, I guess, yes, the borrowing could include the additional 10-2, or to offset that, town meeting could vote to take it out of free cash and not borrow additional money.
Okay.
I know I did cover a lot, so if I need to go back over
No, that's
anything, I'll be
fine,
happy
that's
to.
And then the election part?
The election part, I know Pam is here. I think the town clerk should get to speak on the election.
Well, the election will be held on December 5th, along with the election for the state senate seat. So the primary for the state senate seat is November 7th, along with the town election, special town election. And then December 5th, we'll have the election for the state senate seat itself, and then we'll add on, we'll have another dual election, and we'll have the ballot question. Does that
Thank you.
answer?
Mhm.
And not on the warrant, but Linda and Pam and I have worked on the timing, the proposed, suggested timing for the special town meeting, which is looking at the time within which we have to call it, and availability and so forth. Monday, November 27th would appear to be the best date to hold it. That would be about a week before the general election, which is December 5th, which is where the ballot question would appear. So normally we have the town meeting and then a ballot vote, and that would maintain that. I asked Linda to put a hold on that date for the high school auditorium a few weeks ago, and once I knew that the signatures had been obtained, I asked Linda to reserve the auditorium, so the auditorium is already reserved for that date.
November 22nd?
Yes, 27th, Monday the 27th. So that would be my suggestion, that the board call the special town meeting on November 27th.
Sir,
How
you identify yourself.
you doing? I'm just trying to understand, this is the first time I've seen the wording of the article. So the article is to borrow $1,050,000, and to meet that appropriation, transfer from available funds the sum of $17,500. Is that to offset that? What is?
No, that's in addition. The $1,050,000 is for the acquisition of the property.
Okay.
We have to front, the town has to front the entire amount of money. If we get the grant award, it's a reimbursement grant. So we would have to pay the full amount and then get up to $400,000 back from the state. The additional $17,500, as it was explained to me, was for the anticipated closing costs.
So that's to pay up front for the closing costs for the sale?
Yes. So the sale was $1,050,000 and the closing costs are $17,500 over and above that.
And the borrowing cost of 10.2 would be above that as well?
Yes.
Doug, not everybody knows you at home, so if you could just identify yourself.
I'm Doug Story, and of 89 Spectacle Hill Road, and I'm also the town moderator.
Thank you.
This is going to be your first.
Yes, it will. So I want to be sure I understand this. So my question is, if you choose to use free cash for the additional 10.2, is that increasing the borrowing article or not?
No. That part would come from available funds, so it would not increase the borrowing.
But if you added it to the 17.5 without using free cash, it would be increasing the
Yes.
borrowing?
Yes, it would.
Yes.
So I don't think you want to increase the borrowing.
Well, that's up to town meeting to decide.
Right, and for advisor to weigh it, because.
Because it's a citizen petition, the board of selectmen can't modify it tonight. It needs to go in as submitted.
Right, because one of the things, it's only 10.2, but we just got certified for our free cash, and we're down about 300 grand from where we were at this point last year. So we had about $1 million certified going into budget season last year. We only have 700 and change this year. So we're working with less free cash this time around.
Okay.
And the purchase won't go through, well, the purchase will go through, assuming everyone votes on it and gets voted on December 5th, but it's contingent on getting the 400,000 or like funds. So if the grant doesn't go through, then, say if the grant comes in at 400,000, we're all set. If the grant comes in at less than 400,000, then our article here has the need to do equivalent fundraising to get to there. If the grant isn't awarded, then they have to come up fundraising for the entire amount.
So if it doesn't come through, or if it doesn't come through at 400,000, then the town cannot move forward with purchasing?
Correct.
So
Unless there's the equivalent fundraising that's done, and is there the timeframe that needs to be done before the end of the year?
Well, the grant needs to be awarded by the end of the year. The time, as obviously I didn't write this, so I'm hesitant to interpret somebody else's writing, but the way I would take this is the fundraising and the grant writing and the grant award. However we get to $400,000, we will need to have gotten to that by December. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's the way that I read it, because we would need to close. Well, I don't want to get into strategies. I believe the Girl Scouts' expectation is that the sale would be completed no later than April of 2018. That is my understanding.
Okay.
Any other comments? So, do we have a motion to vote on calling a special town meeting for November 27th?
I will second that.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Now, before you close, I need to ask the selectmen if you wish to vote on your recommendations for either or both of these articles tonight. And just so, I want to make this really clear, just so nothing looks predetermined in any way. Linda advised the chair earlier today that you would have to go back over to the town hall to sign the final version of this because we don't have the recommendations in here yet. There are 4 possible outcomes for how you will vote on the Article 2. We have a version for each possible outcome, so you can sign it tonight and there's nothing untoward. We just, went through the possibilities and we have a page for each possibility.
Wow, what efficiency. Looking ahead. Personally, I actually think, well, the first one, I don't think I have a problem with that, but I think the second one, considering that I'm possibly anticipating that there might be a wording change or some possible change between now and then. So, from my perspective, I think it would be better to give the recommendation on town meeting floor as to whatever that eventually winds up being, because there could possibly be an edit here or there.
Is that true, Don? I thought we couldn't edit it.
No.
We
Well,
can't.
we can't, but given the discussion, they said that the petitioners have the ability to change the word. Well, no, actually, no, anyone can change it on town meeting.
On town meeting floor, anyone can change
That's
it.
correct.
It can't be changed until then.
Right.
So even if, and we do always post the selectmen for about 20 minutes before the start of a town meeting in case any votes need to be made at that time, but there wouldn't be any amendments made by that point. So you wouldn't have any new information before the meeting that you would have now that you could vote on, because town meeting would not have done any edits or changes to the article. It's a little bit, I know it feels different, and it is from an annual town meeting, because for an annual town meeting, if the selectmen know that, we've gotten some figures, and the article is gonna be amended, for instance, for a capital acquisition, then you could vote before town meeting, yeah, we recommend, or don't recommend this article, but you won't know that before the meeting actually starts.
Correct.
Yeah, I don't see that they're gonna be dramatic changes. It's really about the closing costs. So, I'd be in favor of having a vote now.
I actually would recommend that we don't, considering that there will probably need to be some discussion with the Girl Scouts or their agent on this. And I think it's best to have those discussions.
If there are negotiating meetings, I'm conducting as your agent, you may have information prior to town meeting, that could impact that. So that's not impossible.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
So would you like to vote on it? Well, I need you to vote anyway. I mean, if you vote on Article 1, I believe you're going to recommend Article 1. If you could do that. And
All right, well, I'll make a motion to approve Article 1.
Second, all those in favor say aye.
All right?
And then for Article 2, we actually anticipated the possibility of not voting until the night of town meeting, or giving the recommendation on town meeting floor, so we do have a sheet for that.
Well, I'll make a motion that we make a recommendation on town meeting floor for Article 2.
Second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And just so you know, we had a sheet in case the both of you approved it, in case the both of you disapproved it, or in case it was a tie, and it was 1-1, so.
What if we had 30 articles? And we were doing this with each and every one? You know how much paper we would have used?
Then I would say that whoever the town administrator would have been at that point would have their hands full, so.
make a motion to close the special town meeting warrant.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Thank you.
Is Lee Freudenheim here? Okay, so we're moving on to Board of Selectmen business. We have Police Chief Nelson is here to appoint new officers.
Have a seat, just introduce you. Say hi to
Tyler
everyone.
Tyler
I'm Kayla Fontaine.
Stan Whiteside.
Hi, Kayla
Stan Whiteside,
Fontaine.
pleasure.
I would better look at dog.
Chief, how are you this evening?
I'm doing well, I hope everybody else is doing as well.
Best day of my life.
Well, I'm very pleased and happy to introduce you to the three candidates we have. Farthest is Tyler McElman. He's here for a reserve officer position. In the middle, Kayla Fontaine, reserve, and Gurpreet Singh for the full-time position. All came through the background checks with flying colors. All their past employers, current employers, all had the greatest things in the world to say about these people. So we're very happy and very proud to present these three to you. All well-educated, they all have college degrees. Tyler is a former full-time Marlboro officer, so he does have full-time experience, working at National Grid as a job analyst. Is that
Critical
IT analyst?
infrastructure IT analyst, yeah,
Okay.
security analyst.
Kayla is a social worker, DCF, and she's also had some dispatching experience, Oxford and Auburn, and reserve police officer experience. And Gurpreet coming from Somerville. So we're gonna try to get him a little closer. He's already he's got the full-time academy under his belt. He was working in Somerville, and things didn't work out there. He had to sign a 7-year agreement to stay in Somerville, and it wasn't in the cards for him. It's very expensive to live in Somerville. So, wasn't making enough money to stay there, so he was looking for another spot. He found us, and wants to come on board.
Super.
So they're all here for your grueling questions.
Yeah, Chief Nelson, can you just tell me about how we use reserve police officers? How they'll be working here?
Yes, they do the exact same work as a full-time officer does. They just don't have the administrative duties. They won't be doing detail billing. One of the full-time officers does that, cruiser maintenance, stuff like that. They just show up and they fill a spot on the schedule. For when a full-timer takes a day off, is sick, they'll get a chance to work that after the 50-50 split. So the full-timer has first right of refusal on 50% of the shift. So if it's their turn, the reserves would get a shot at it, or the full-timer. So they're working just like a full-time police officer does.
But in terms of the hours, are they 40 hours a week?
Oh, no,
Or they're just
no.
filling in
They're-
part-time?
They have to do 3 shifts a month by contract
Okay.
at this point.
And we hope they do more.
I'm hoping they do a lot more, because we gave back, I think it was in the hundreds of shifts, a couple hundred shifts last year that couldn't get filled just because we didn't have enough staffing. And that's why we were bringing on 8 reserves, so that they can backfill all those shifts. But they're backfilling for when we go to training, when we're sick, or on vacation, they're gonna fill all those open shifts.
Great. So, question to the 2 reserves, so you have another job, you'll be working somewhere else?
Yes.
Full or part-time?
That's correct, sir.
Yes.
Okay.
So what attracted you to Bolton?
I grew up in Marlboro my whole life, so I've been coming to Bolton, for everything, really. I played football against Neshoba, baseball against Neshoba. But no, what really drew me to Bolton is it's just a close-knit community. And, I took pride in being an ambassador in Marlboro for 4 years as a full-time police officer. I love the job. Opportunities come up that sometimes you just can't resist. I had a great opportunity that came up at National Grid. I'm still at National Grid. It's given me more time at home with my wife, and things like that. But being away from police work for almost a year and 4 months now, you do get the itch, you know, you do miss it. I do miss it, and, you know, I saw Bolton was hiring a part-time, a reserve officer, and I felt that'd be a great asset for the community, really. It's close to home. I live in Marlboro. You know, right down 495, it takes about not even 10 minutes, really.
Well, not at night. Go 85.
Yeah. But, yeah, I love police work. I went to the full-time academy in Springfield back in 2012. I think I finished second in my class in the academy. And like I said, I left Marlboro on good terms. It wasn't for any bad reasons or anything like that. Just an opportunity I couldn't pass up.
Super. Good. And you?
I'll be honest, I graduated the police academy in June, and I was just looking for part-time work. I didn't want my academy experience to go to waste, because I've grown up with, my father's a detective in the town I live in, my uncle, my cousin. And then when I graduated the academy, I just was looking and applying to all different towns, and Bolton was my first call back, and
Well, welcome.
I followed through with it, so I'm very
Welcome.
happy.
No, good.
So, so will you be continuing your work at DCF?
Yes.
You will. Great. That's great experience.
You potentially have another SRO.
Backup.
Oh, possibly, yes, yeah. Was it child development, your degree?
Yeah.
Yeah, you go. So perfect.
That's great.
I always wanted to do law enforcement. My grandfather was a police officer in India, so I kind of wanted to pursue what he was doing. He was, pretty well respected. So I want to, continue. I want to start a career in law enforcement. I went to the academy in June. I also have, a college degree in UMass Boston in criminal justice. I worked with Somerville previously. Before that, pharmaceutical manufacturing. And then, and I got the opportunity with Somerville off the civil service exam. So, I pursued that. And then they had a 7-year requirement that you have to stay in Somerville, while you're employed. And I was looking for jobs in, Bolton. I applied to Bolton, and,
Super.
luckily I got a phone call from them and did well on the interview. And, interviewed with the chief, the lieutenant, FTO officer. They all seemed, great. So I'm here today.
No, I think you'll like it. I lived in the town 28, going on 29 years, and I've worked with now Chief and then Lieutenant Nelson. He's a good guy. The whole department's great.
So welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So you just need the board to vote on the official appointment then?
Okay. Well, then, you want me to make a motion?
Sure.
All right, well, we'll start with full-time. I'll make a motion to appoint Coop Rietzine to a full-time officer in town of Bolton.
Second, all those in favor say aye.
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 Thank you, gentlemen.
And we will also make a motion to approve Kayla Fontaine and Tyler McElfman as reserve officers in the town of Bolton.
Second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Welcome.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Looking forward
Thank
to
you very
it.
much. Thank you. Sorry.
Congratulations. Looking forward to seeing you.
I'll give you pictures of all my cars.
Wouldn't be the first time. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, folks.
We have a request to appoint Patrick Mahoney to the Agriculture Committee.
I'm assuming we have voted, advertised this position. Okay.
To make a motion to approve Patrick Mahoney to the Agriculture Committee.
I'll second that.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Okay.
We have a second request to appoint Tim Feeler to the Cultural Council.
I'll ask the same question, I'm assuming we have.
Yes.
Okay. I'm gonna make a motion, we approve Tim Feeler to the Cultural Council.
Second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Review image of sign for 727 Main Street. Do we have Robin?
Yes, Robin.
Robin, please come forward.
Do you have a copy of it?
I sent them an email. If you have one, that you can show them.
Right. Excuse me. So Mike's Signs in Kingsborough?
Mm-hmm. And this is my understanding of when you were last, this is going on,
727 Main Street.
right.
So this would go, and this is where, so you live, that's where you live.
This is where I live.
Mhm.
And
Yes.
then, so the sign says Country Well Acupuncture, Tai Chi, Chinese Yoga, phone number, and then an arrow 1 mile east.
Mhm.
Just for, it's on the screen.
Okay. And then the actual business is located,
At 563 Main Street.
okay, now would there be a sign there as well?
There is a sign right now. It's in the middle of, I don't know, a dozen businesses.
So that's at Bolton Corners, just for
Bolton
everybody.
Corners
Okay.
building,
Okay.
563
So
Main Street.
they
Okay.
just put up a brand new sign.
Okay, so that's, okay, fine. Yeah, we had talked about this, so, yeah, I'm fine with it.
I do have some concerns.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if, I'm thinking about this. I don't know if we've ever had, maybe we have had a sign, in a residential area that points, to a business, a mile previous, where you also have another sign. So I just wonder whether, we want to set this type of precedent of having two signs, one at your place of work and one at your house referring to your place of work. I would understand if you had a home office.
Uh-huh.
And then, it's also it's kind of a substantial sign. Last time you were here, you talked about a colonial sign, and I guess I
So
was
this is not a colonial looking sign?
I guess
It's
I
like
was
barn
imagining
boards
like it's kind of a
it
big
could-
statement. I was imagining like a single post with kind of
It could be a single post.
single
this is
post
not-
with kind of, black and white lettering, not kind of this big. This is more kind of a
Mhm.
marketing sign, I would say.
Okay,
Um,
so would you be okay with it being black and white? Is that,
I mean,
you want it to have more of a Victorian kind of look?
not Victorian, but this is really substantial with two posts, and then we have.
Well, I hadn't
the-
wanted two posts,
Yeah.
but the designer said it should be with two posts because it's two-sided and,
I
but
think-
I would rather have it be, sort of a thin cast iron looking. That's what I had wanted, so I could,
I mean, I think it would, yeah, I think
I understand.
if it was a single post and it's more like,
mhm.
less of an advertisement for your business, it's more like a home occupation sign, just kind of a little bit toned down.
Okay.
Yeah, so, I mean, I think if it, it's less obtrusive, otherwise it's just like another billboard in a way, it's small.
It's-
Smaller than
it's
a billboard,
Small.
But within a residential district,
Okay.
having a sign that's advertising your business,
Okay,
I think it's a little much.
okay, so you're.
I'm actually, if you wanted to go with a single pole, and maybe have it hung so it's, attached to the top.
Right, it would have to be attached to the top
Yeah.
to be two-sided.
Yeah,
Okay, and you want it to be black and white, that's what you're saying?
I think that's fine, the way it is.
Yeah, so you're getting two things, but let's hear from
Okay,
the
Hi,
audience.
Martha Remington, Chairman of the
Hi.
Historical Commission.
hi.
I guess this is going to be in our National Register district.
It is, which is why I went to a designer and, he did the,
Right.
barn board looking, and I didn't want the two poles, but he said it's easier to do it that way because I like the way it looks better to be hung on, something that
Well-
looks cast iron, because my house is 1790.
Is that Gigi's former
Yes.
house? Okay.
Yes.
The Holman Inn stable, correct?
You're
Yes.
the expert.
Mhm.
Right.
And you look, I have a
I
pretty
mean,
flag out
this is a
there, and I
great,
have
this
pumpkins.
is a great
and-
looking sign, but I don't think that it really is appropriate based on the lovely historic home that you live in and being in that district.
Okay,
So I would agree that the text is fine. I've never had a sign that
Uh-huh.
pointed from a home to another business either, but
uh-huh.
what size is this? What are the dimensions of the actual sign?
32 inches, I think is what you said was okay.
Square, 32 square.
Yes.
So is it 12 by 24 or?
Oh, it's,
What is the?
I thought it could be 32 inches long. Is that not correct?
No, I thought it was.
That was
smaller
what I was
than
told the
that.
last time that I was here.
Do you have that, isn't it a regular sign?
Which, I mean, it's not made yet, it's just,
Yeah,
it's just
for
a
a
mock,
regular
so-
sign, it can be 30, up to 36 square feet. Yeah,
There's a
so-
regular sign.
So 32 inches by 32 inches is certainly within dimensions.
Mhm.
Are you familiar with the sign for the public library right across from your house?
Yes,
It's white
right.
with black lettering, and it's beginning to fail a little bit. I think that, in particular, because this is your promotion for your business, but it's at your home,
Mhm.
that it should be more colonial, and black and white would be good, and a single pole. I've never heard of a sign in someone's front yard that said, "Eat at my friend Joe's," just down the street.
Yeah, no, there's a
But
concern
but
about
I'm not
that.
saying, that, you know, I think it should be prohibited, but I think that it could be done a little more in tune with the historic nature of
Okay,
your
I'm happy.
neighborhood that,
to do
and
that.
definitely try and get rid of one pole.
Okay.
Are you familiar with the signs on the old brick store? They have black and gold signs, the one on the corner of Wattaquatic and Main Street.
What was the Cracker Barrel, but
Oh,
Yeah, that's on the brick
So-
thing
so-
there.
so
That's
it's-
black with gold, but the shape of it is kind of 19th century.
okay.
And so this, even you could have the
Mhm.
background, the color of your home, and then have the black letters on it.
Your
Whatever.
home's pink. Is it
Your
pink?
home is pink now?
No.
No,
No.
that's Bambi's.
No, that's Bambi's, no.
Oh,
that's
it's
not
good
my
pale
house.
pink, isn't it?
My house, not my house.
What color is your house?
It's beige.
beige. yeah.
It's beige.
Oh,
It has the flag with the apples and some big pumpkins.
Mhm.
It's pretty.
Anyway, thank you for having your
Oh.
business in Bolton.
Okay, so I should come again with another,
yeah.
okay.
So, yeah, looking at the sign.
I'm happy, I mean,
Yeah.
I want it to be nice, because
Yeah,
you know,
Yeah.
I have a beautiful house in the
Yeah.
center of Bolton, and it is 1790, so, and I thought this was very colonial looking, but,
yeah, you know, the posts are nice, the detail, but I think,
and I didn't want those posts, that was
Yeah.
actually the designer, I said, can't we put it on one? He said, oh, that'll be more difficult, so I
Yeah.
might have just,
so
But okay.
constructive feedback, so is
Yes,
does that
it's good.
seem pretty clear?
yes, absolutely,
Great.
absolutely, so
Yeah.
I will come back.
Thank you,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you very much,
Thank
sorry
you
for your time.
No, no, thank you, we
Okay.
appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
We have a request from Bolton Access Television to release funds, $30,005.12. Teresa Sauer, welcome.
Hi.
Hello.
How are you?
All right, how are you? Hi.
Good.
I'm back again.
How are
It's supposed to
things
be
going?
quarterly, we should have come back last month, but there was some miscommunication, we didn't realize the check was there.
Okay.
So our budget's a little kahooey at the moment. Things are very well, we have our annual meeting coming up next month. So, busy time of year with budgeting and all that.
Mhm.
So, but things are going really well. Been doing a lot of sharing back and forth with the school, trying to come up with some real active involvement in the school and the 3 stations, in the high school
Mm.
and the 3 stations, which is huge. We've been waiting for them, and they now have
Okay.
a teacher with a video production / journalism class, and they're live streaming from Neshoba to their YouTube channel. And so we're sort of, okay, we'll take it too. So,
Okay.
so hopefully that'll all work out this year. That just, you know, it's just a start, but they're also progressing forward. So we'll see how it all pans out. It's very exciting.
I know we wanted to get the school more involved.
Yeah. It's just an opportunity for
It
the
fits
students.
and starts, and well, I'm glad that it's finally coming together.
It seems to be, knock on wood.
Yeah.
You never know.
Yeah.
So,
I'll make a motion to approve.
Well, actually, before we do that, I had occasion to talk to Brooke Clenchy and Lorraine Ramasco, and it came up that it seems that the district is paying for the cable caster that is, I think cablecasters, right? Cable caster that's basically sitting in the conference room that's assisting to broadcast the school committee meetings. And I believe that there have been at least one conversation, perhaps two, between you, Ken, and Brooke and Lorraine concerning that. And I was just curious why the district is paying for that, considering that it's a school committee meeting, which the school committee is elected representatives from 3 towns and really kind of should be treated like us or the Board of Health or any other, town board or committee meeting, since it is those are elected people, it's not a district meeting per se.
so wherever that was decided was years ago. But, when Michael was superintendent, way before I came on to Bolton Access TV. That was a decision that was made. They purchased the equipment they needed and hired a student to do the cable casting. And so that's been in place for a very long time. And why that was the decision, I don't know. But I can tell you by contract that the access stations are actually only responsible for town meetings and selectmen meetings. So they're not under any obligation to do the school committee. By contract, they're not. So that may have been part of the decision-making for them to purchase their own equipment and hire on a cable caster. We've been supporting that, and when they do remote, have remote events, we supply the equipment for them, and we've trained their cable casters to use it. I also help train the cable casters. There's only been 3 in the time I've been around, but train them to use their equipment they have there. So we provide all the backup. As well if they have, if there's some sort of functioning problem, we provide it.
I mean, we're putting you on the spot, but this is 3 towns, so we should also be bringing this up at Tri-Town and talking to Stowe and Lancaster. We shouldn't just be saying Batco should be covering this, because the 2 other towns have their own cable broadcasting, and so
I think
again, it's
that may have played
something-
into the decision as well, because by the school committee paying for their cable caster, the 3 towns are splitting the costs.
No, it's not the school committee. The school committee's not paying for anything. It's the district that's paying
Right.
for a non-district meeting, broadcasting a non-district meeting. The school committee has nothing to do with the district as far as chain of command. The school committee is a separate elected body of representatives of the 3 towns.
Right.
Okay, so I think that the question is, whatever might have occurred whenever in the past, my understanding is I think the district is not in agreement that they should be paying for broadcasting school committee meetings. Now, if we have to figure out some other mechanism to do that, but those meetings are not district meetings, they're school committee meetings.
Mhm.
So, the question is, why are they paying for that?
So,
that sounds like it's a Tri-Town issue.
well, they asked us to come in, Ken and I spoke to them about the history of it and how things have been done, and we're open to further conversation, and I think that the other 2 towns need to be called, and the other 2 stations need to be called in as well, if there's going to be a change in how things are done.
Well, then what are we doing? You're not charging, well, you're getting the PEG funds for broadcasting Tri-Town meetings in Bolton. So why is that covered, and if we do broadcast them, if we request to broadcast, why would that be different than school committee
So broadcast has to do with airing them, recording them is where the cost is coming in, just so we're clear.
Right.
Right.
Well, I mean, you wouldn't go to the trouble of recording something if you were gonna be broadcasting.
Well, it doesn't,
You can't
it
sell
doesn't cost additional to broadcast is the thing. It's the recording of them that's in question. And we're not adverse to, it's, the three stations would need to come together and figure out how to share the cost of doing it and the organization of doing it. We're not adverse to doing it.
But the school committee meetings are typically always held in Bolton, so.
Right, but it's still.
That's
wouldn't-
just where the offices are. I mean,
Yeah.
Right, well, exactly.
But we
All
have,
three
we have
towns.
this thing keeps happening where Bolton ends up being responsible and paying for things that Stowe and Lancaster aren't. So it's important not to put all this pressure on Batco, but to talk to, the three towns talk about it at Tri-Town. You know, we're gonna share the costs, which sounds like we're sharing the costs now. Or share the workload or responsibilities if, you know, if the three cable company, you know, want to take it on.
Perhaps the three local access channels for Stowe, Bolton, and Lancaster could have a meeting and come up with a recommendation for Tri-Town. That might be helpful for Tri-Town.
So as far as Tri-Town goes, whoever town it is responsible for recording it. So that is shared because it switches towns. We each take responsibility when it's in our town to make sure that it's recorded and aired and shared. So we do something similar with the school committee, I imagine.
Well, I know that the discussions come up, and I do know that the district's not typically really satisfied with the answer that you've given them. So I think we need to come to some rapprochement with, and also I believe that the cablecaster for the school committee meetings is being paid more than you pay the other cablecasters.
Mhm.
So there's,
Well, it depends. We've changed over how we pay the cablecasters, so we used to pay more, now we probably pay less, yes.
But Don, Superintendent Clenchey and Lorraine Ramasco, you know, need to be talking to, you know, all three towns and not kind of focusing their energy on Batco as the problem.
We were called in just for a preliminary, can you
Yeah.
tell us what's going on? We weren't asked to take anything over, or we just understood that they didn't know why it was set up the way it was. They didn't even know that it was posted. I sent them the posting that Neshoba puts out to get a new cablecaster. They didn't know who she reported to. So I sent them that information. So as far as I understand, it was just a fact-finding mission. We haven't heard anything since, I haven't heard, I don't know if Ken has. And additional to that, I know they weren't pleased that they were responsible for hiring the cablecaster and didn't understand why it was set up that way, but we can't offer much information. We didn't make those choices. I wasn't even involved back then. So I don't know what the thinking was behind it, but they haven't approached me at all. Ken and I made the same suggestion that it needs to be discussion between the three towns, the three access stations. And I haven't heard anything more, so you've kind of caught me off guard. I didn't know there was more discussion about it. I thought they were still reviewing and trying to figure out what was
well,
going on.
I know they've had at least one conversation with you, and that's why I'm bringing it up. But I think we need to get this. We need to come to some resolution, because I think there is a really strong difference of opinion, and you know we need to figure this out.
I'm just curious, what was the outcome of that meeting that Ken and you had with them? Was there any plans on setting up a follow-up meeting, or what was?
They were going to seek more information. I believe in other towns, the school district actually does pay for and record the meetings. It's not unusual, but I don't know that for sure. And Alita was going to put a call out to the, the email, however they do that
The
email wise, to
listserv.
find out if that's true or not. But I believe it is handled in-house at other stations, so,
Well, actually, that would be good to find out how that's
Well, that's-
done with other.
I mean, I would like to hear what else they found out, so, yeah.
Well, I think it's also incumbent on Batcode to find out what other stations and how they're handling it as well.
Well, I offered to, and they actually said, no, we'll have Alita do it, so.
Well, they have access to the school district listserv, so they can just send out a query and get all this feedback from
I
other
did
school
offer.
districts. So it makes sense that they would send that email instead of calling every school district in the perimeter.
Well, no, they don't have to call school districts, they just call public access television stations. So, I mean,
But do you have a listserv?
It works.
We don't.
Is there a public access television?
There's not a public access listserv. Although we do belong to mass access, I could put a question out there just
Yeah.
for
All right.
us to know more.
Yeah, I think it's something I think we need to get resolved, because it's certainly not clear in their minds, how this came about. It, might be the right way to go, it just might have been something that, Michael Wood and, previous Batco administration folks decided on years ago, whether it's the right path or not. But I think we all need to eventually get on the same page.
Well, that's what, it is providing a student opportunity that the student now and in the past that have done that position are journalism/video production students.
At the high school.
At the high school, and that's who they actually report to. So it is a sort of on-the-job sort of training for their class as well, so.
Is this part of the school curriculum?
No, it's a paid position, but,
It could be for credit.
I suppose it could, but you'd never get anybody to do it.
Right, it's probably.
I mean, you have to pay your.
I think it's not now, but maybe sometime in the future.
But it's on-the-job experience is what it ends up, which is what we provide here for students, so. It's not a bad thing to put on your resume, that's for sure, if you're interested in this career path.
Right, so so if you have someone from the high school, assisting the filming of a selectmen's meeting, it's still a student.
Mhm.
So the fact that you're paying them really isn't any different than the school paying them. And it's not any better that the district is paying them. They still get the benefit either way.
Right.
Okay. All right, but I think we need to get some resolution on this pretty quickly, and maybe I would suggest, if you haven't heard back from the district, I would suggest you reach out. I will suggest to Lorraine and Brooke to also reach out to you and Ken. But I think we need to, because I can see the arguments from both sides.
Sure.
We have a motion to approve.
I will second that, but I do want to get this resolved.
All those in favor say aye.
All right?
Aye. Thank you, Teresa.
Thank you very much.
Teresa?
Good night now.
Second to last, we have approved bills and payroll warrants W18-08 and W18-08A.
I'll second that.
All those in favor say aye.
All right?
Aye. Thank you, Linda.
So do you want to sign the National Grid forms too, Bruce? The both of you would be signing those the way they did those forms.
Any other paperwork?
That is it.
So the board is gonna move into executive.
We still have one
Minutes.
agenda item that
Yeah.
is still hanging out there, the sign at 96 Main.
49.
Oh. Is Lee,
So no one's here for 96 Hudson Road? No, then I guess there's a sign about too.
Well, unfortunately, the sign's already been up.
It's not currently up, but it has been up.
Oh, it is up. It's up. Did they take it down?
We were ordered to take it down last week.
And
I thought they did.
I was told that they did.
I was told they did too.
I was down there this past weekend, but I don't remember now, so maybe it is down.
so we're talking about the real estate sign for Camp Virginia, just
Yeah.
for people at home. So we're just gonna pass over that.
You have two options. You can pass over it.
Yeah.
Or if you don't have any issues, you can vote to allow it to go back up. It's your choice.
Is it bigger than regulation size?
No, it's 8.5 by 4, which is 34 square feet. Well, that's 34 square feet. A regular sign is limited to 36 square feet. Temporary signs are limited to 6 square feet, which is why they were ordered to take it down. And it's within the board's discretion whether or not you wish to approve it as a temporary sign at those dimensions.
Mm-hmm.
So like the other real estate signs, the one that's up at Cobham, I don't remember that. Did that come before the board?
The one up where?
At
At
Cobham,
Cobham?
there's a big sign up there.
I don't
saying
remember.
2 buildings, real estate sign.
Yeah, I don't know.
I really don't remember one way or the other.
I don't, yeah, if you could check on that.
I mean, if it's been taken down, then let's have the guy come back in again,
So you want to defer that to November 16th?
Yep.
I mean, they made 2 boo-boos. They put it up first without asking permission. They put it up on the wrong side of the road.
At Camp Resolute,
Yeah.
causing a firestorm.
That's true.
Yeah, so, yeah, well, yeah, shame on Lee for not coming in, so, can wait.
Do we need to vote on that, or just?
I would vote, yes, I would vote to pass over it.
I'll make a motion that we vote to pass over the real estate sign at 96 Hudson Road to the next meeting.
Second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And do we have minutes? Great, so we're ready to go into executive session.
Have fun.
Thank you, have a nice night.
Good night.
Pursuant to MGL C30A 21A6, to consider the purchase of Camp Virginia as the chair finds that an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the public body, the board will not reconvene to open session.
I'll second that.
All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Keep.
Pierre, yes.
Saki.
Yes.